Modern life created a strange paradox. People have never been more connected, more stimulated, more occupied, and yet they have never felt so unfulfilled. Days are full, calendars are crowded, notifications never stop. But when people look back at their lives, very little feels truly meaningful. This is the illusion of being busy, a state where movement replaces progress, where activity replaces direction, where constant effort creates the feeling of productivity without the reality of it. Being busy feels responsible. It feels necessary. It feels like you're doing something with your life. But psychologically, it often means the opposite. It means you're reacting instead of creating, responding instead of designing, surviving instead of building. The brain loves stimulation. Every message, email, notification, and task creates a small dopamine reward, not because it's important, but because it's new. The mind confuses novelty with value. This creates a powerful feedback loop. The more you stay busy, the more you feel needed. The more needed you feel, the more you associate your identity with activity. And slowly, your sense of worth becomes linked to how full your day is, not to what you actually produce, not to what you build, but to how exhausted you feel. And exhaustion becomes proof of relevance. Being busy is socially praised. No one questions it. No one asks if what you're doing matters, only if you're doing a lot. This makes busyness the perfect emotional anesthetic. It prevents silence. It avoids reflection. It eliminates uncomfortable questions. Am I going in the right direction? Is this life actually mine? What am I really building? As long as you're busy, you don't have to answer them. There is a crucial difference between movement and progress. Movement is visible. Progress is subtle. Movement fills time. Progress changes trajectory. Most people spend their lives in motion. Meetings, messages, deadlines, tasks, goals that reset every week, but their long-term direction remains the same. They are moving, but not advancing. And because movement feels like effort, the brain assumes it's productive, even when nothing structural changes. Busyness often replaces risk. It's easier to be constantly busy than to face uncertainty. Easier to maintain routines than to redesign your life. Easier to respond than to initiate. So people fill their days with tasks instead of taking responsibility for direction. Not because they're lazy, but because they're afraid of choosing. Financially, being busy is dangerous because income does not come from activity. It comes from leverage, from systems, from assets, from long-term decisions. Busy people trade time for money. Strategic people build structures that multiply time. Busyness keeps you employed. Strategy makes you independent. But strategy requires thinking, and thinking requires silence, and silence feels uncomfortable in a world addicted to noise. Social media amplified the illusion of being busy to an entirely new level, especially platforms like Instagram. A place where life is edited into constant motion. Projects, workouts, trips, meetings, coffee shops, laptops, airplanes, smiling faces with captions about the grind. Everyone looks productive. Everyone looks focused. Everyone looks like they're doing something important. But what you're really seeing is not productivity, it's performance. Instagram doesn't show progress, it shows activity. It rewards visibility, not depth. It teaches people to document effort instead of questioning results, to post about being busy instead of asking if what they're doing actually matters. So people start to live for the appearance of motion. They take photos of their desks, their notebooks, their schedules, their coffee, their work sessions. Not because it's meaningful, but because it looks meaningful. Busyness becomes aesthetic, and slowly, people internalize that identity. They don't want to feel productive, they want to look productive. They confuse validation with direction, likes with progress, engagement with growth. The most dangerous part is that this creates social pressure. When everyone around you looks busy, stillness feels wrong, reflection feels lazy, slowing down feels like failure, even when you need it the most. So people keep filling their lives with noise, notifications, tasks, projects that go nowhere, all to avoid the uncomfortable feeling of not knowing what they're actually building. In a world where everyone looks in motion, standing still to think feels rebellious. But thinking is exactly what most people stopped doing. And without thinking, busyness becomes the perfect distraction from a life that was never consciously designed. The real cost of being busy is not stress, it's identity erosion. You become someone who reacts, someone who executes, someone who maintains, not someone who designs. Years pass, skills improve, but the core life remains unchanged. And one day, the calendar is still full, but the future is empty. Escaping the illusion is not about doing less, it's about choosing better. Not more tasks, but fewer, more meaningful ones. Not more goals, but clearer ones. Not more productivity, but more intentionality. The key question is simple. Is this activity moving me forward or just keeping me busy? Most people never ask it. Being busy is comfortable. It gives structure, it gives identity, it gives the feeling of purpose. But purpose does not come from motion, it comes from direction. And the biggest risk of modern life is not failure, it's spending decades moving without ever choosing where. If this video felt uncomfortable, it's probably because it touched something real. The feeling of always being occupied, always doing something, but never quite feeling like you're moving forward. That sense that your days are full, but your direction is unclear. The hardest part about the illusion of being busy is that it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels normal, responsible, even productive, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. So here's a simple exercise. Look at how you spent your last week, not emotionally, factually. Write down the main things you invested your time in. Then ask yourself one honest question. If I keep doing exactly this for the next 5 years, where will my life actually be? Not where you hope it will be, where it logically leads. If the answer makes you uncomfortable, that discomfort is useful. It means your brain just noticed a gap between movement and direction. This channel exists to help you see those gaps, not with motivation, but with clarity, because clarity is the only thing that makes real change possible. So if you don't want to keep filling your life with activity that goes nowhere, subscribe, not for content, but for perspective, for ideas that slow you down enough to think instead of just react. And before you leave, share this video with someone who is always busy but never satisfied. Someone who says they have no time but never questions where their time actually goes. Sometimes the first step toward a different life is not doing more, it's choosing better.